Hi again, welcome to another episode of Talk with Jen, our physical therapist here. This one is going to be about ranges of motion in your joints. This was one thing that was really revealing to me as someone who has never really needed physical therapy and just sort of thought of it as something to go to if you needed help with an injury or something. But what was really enlightening was learning that all of the different joints and their expected ranges of motion, and even though I am pretty injury free and don't have any issues, I was interested to find out that I have some limitations, and so then Jen was able to give me some exercises to work on. So I want you to understand this isn't just about injury treatment, and that we can all learn about the body and being proactive in terms of when you know what your joints, what you're supposed to expect from them, and how they're supposed to operate, then you can make sure that you're maintaining that to end up preventing injury in the future. So anything you want to add to that in terms of why we're doing this?
No, I mean, we have a lot of people come into the clinic that are strictly there to become more efficient athletes, and one of the ways that we do that for people, as far as decreasing marathon times and making them more efficient for fatigue issues with Ironmans and stuff like that, is we make sure that their joints are functioning properly so they have full range of motion and full power through those joints. So it is really important for injury prevention and for efficiency of motion.
Cool. So as we've gone through, I've watched you go through some of the sessions with the folks. I've learned all the different expectations, which I had no idea prior to this. So I thought maybe it'd be useful for you if we just took a few minutes and kind of went through the body head to toe and just talked about some expected ranges of motion that you can try on your own, and then, learn from there. See what you think.
Okay.
So where do you want to start?
Let's start with the head. We'll do a few in this position, and you guys can kind of check and see if you fall into normal limits here. So your neck does 6 different motions. What you should expect out of your neck is that you can tuck your chin all the way down to your chest without opening your mouth to reach your chin to your chest or your sternum here. And then extension, you should be able to look all the way up towards the ceiling, basically till the base of your skull almost hits your low back through there. And so those you want to be able to touch the opposite ends of your structure. Rotation, you should be able to get your chin all the way over to your shoulder without pain in any of these positions and stuff. So 90 degrees is what we're looking for on those rotations. And then a side bend, you should be able to get to about 45 degrees, so about halfway down towards your shoulder and stuff, again, without letting the other shoulder shrug up. So that's what we're looking for at neck. Mid-back is hard to check independently. That you typically need other people to check. You can kind of extend over a foam roller, and you should be able to keep your butt down and then extend all the way back over the foam roller and hit the back of your head, again, without extending your neck. That's cheating and trying to use the cervical areas rather than just making the thoracic work. As far as your shoulders go, again, 6 different ranges that we check and a few different positions for those ranges. You should be able to bring your arm all the way above your head, and what we're looking for is 180 degrees here. One thing we measure is from the shoulder blade angle. So sometimes you'll see that people's shoulder blades come into their armpits, and so it looks like they're at 180, but they're actually maybe at 160 because their lats are tight. And so we give a lat stretch on there, and that one's actually really common in a lot of people, especially desk jobs where people are kind of rotated inwardly at their shoulder for a lot of periods of times, because those lats are a big internal rotator at your shoulder. And then abduction, coming out to the side, same thing, we want 180 degrees there. Extension, we check at your side. You should be able to get at least 60 degrees going back there. And again, all of these should be pain-free. External rotation, we want your elbow at your side, and you should be able to rotate at least 60 degrees without coming off of your side. You should just do a strict rotation here. Internal, you should definitely be able to get to your stomach, but then what we want is to see that people can touch the bottom of their opposite shoulder blade up on the sides here. And that one, you'll find that if that one's tight, a lot of times people's lats are tight too. So you can kind of see if you're able to do that.
So for those who don't know physiology super well, can you show where the lats are?
Oh yeah, it's the big swimmer's muscle. So when you see swimmers who have that V back and stuff, it's the muscle that goes all the way down through here, and a huge muscle up your back through here too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
And so that's the main shoulder check that we do. The next ones I'm going to have Amy lay down so she can be my test dummy for you here. So let me kind of tilt this, and you can lay on your back with your head up on this side here.
Okay, on my back. Okay.
Yeah. Let's see if we can get this to balance here. There we go. Hopefully it doesn't fall over in the middle of the video for you guys. So then what we check is hips in this position. And so what we want is a straight leg raise. Your knee should be completely locked straight. And we want people to get up to a 90-degree angle, again, without any low back pain. It's okay to feel a stretch in hammies or your calf muscles and stuff. That's very normal. And then I don't know if you can see her foot in this position. Here, bend your knee really quick. What we want is a straight knee, but that your foot can bend back to 90 degrees too. This stretches that whole chain of muscles in the back, which all of these muscles have to work together. So you can't just have a good hamstring length, you have to have a good length through the whole back of your leg here. And so sometimes people can't get their foot back to 90 degrees, so again we want 90 degrees at your hip here, and then 90 degrees up at this angle at your ankle. So I could basically balance a glass of water on the top of your foot here. And nerves will tighten down just like muscles will, so sometimes people will feel kind of a nervy, burny sensation with this if their nerve needs to be stretched out. Then the next thing we check is hip rotation with your hip flexed up like this. And then we'll check it with your hip extended too as soon as Amy turns over. So in this position, you should be able to rotate. This is called external rotation. And we want at least 60 degrees on that, so Amy's right there. And then hip internal rotation, we want at least 45 to 60 degrees. This one's really tight in a lot of people who have low back pain. And people will feel it here if you have low back pain too, because you'll feel that you start to compensate at your low back. And that's all we check in this position. And then scooch down a little bit this way, Amy, unless your feet are hanging off the table there.
Okay.
There, that should be good here. So for shoulders, well, we'll flip over on your stomach here. We'll do that one afterwards.
Okay.
For the rest of the hip, what we want to check in knee, we want to be able to get your heel all the way up towards your glutes here without extending at your low back. So I kind of block your low back so you can't extend, and then try and work this all the way up towards your butt. So your heel should be able to touch your butt there. And then again, I hold down the side of people's hips here so they can't cheat at their low back. And then you should be able to rotate all the way over towards your uninvolved leg. And then out to that 45-degree angle again in this position. And the hip muscles function differently when your hip is straight here versus flexed up like we just had her when she was laying on her back. And then hip flexors, which are really, really important and really tight in people who sit at desks all day long because your hip is flexed all day long. Those attach to your lumbar spine. So if those are tight, you can get a lot of low back pain from having tight hip flexors. So here with my knee underneath her knee, she should be able to, again, get her heel up towards her butt here. And so full range of motion is your heel touches your butt. Okay.
How short was I?
Just about 10 degrees up.
Okay.
A little work for Amy Terry to do here. Then flip on your back, but with your head at the opposite end, so I can show the other shoulder ones here.
Okay.
So the other two shoulder positions we look at are when your shoulder's at 90 degrees out here. I'm going to hold down the front of her shoulder because you can see when people get tight there, they start to compensate from their neck and their mid-back, and their whole shoulder girdle comes up here, if you can see that here. So we want your body to be able to get all the motion from your shoulder here. So I'm going to hold her shoulder down, and then you should be able to touch the table. 90 degrees is what we're looking for there. And then same thing going back here, 90 degrees. Okay, you can go and sit up there. So those are the basic range tests that we do on people when people come into a clinic or would come do an initial evaluation here and stuff, just for basic injury prevention. If somebody has specific pathology or some specific diagnosis that they're dealing with, there's 50 other different range tests we can do to break down not just the one motion, but each individual muscle that does that motion as well. But in general, that's where people should be starting from.
Great. Thanks for being here. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, guys.